There's a woman buried in a small cemetery in Shelbyville, Illinois, whose invention now sits in roughly 80 million American kitchens. Her name was Josephine Cochrane. Almost no one knows it. She didn't set out to be an inventor. She set out, by her own account, to stop her servants from chipping her heirloom china. The dishes had been in the Garis family since the 17th century, and every dinner party in her Shelbyville mansion ended the same way, with another hairline crack, another missing handle, another piece of 200-year-old porcelain quietly ruined in a wash basin. In 1883, the situation got worse. Her husband, William Cochrane, died of pneumonia. He left her a respectable house, a social position in central Illinois, and $1,535.59 in debt. The dinner parties stopped, the servants left, and Josephine Cochrane, 44 years old and broke, found herself standing in her own kitchen for the first time in her adult life, washing her own dishes. She hated it. She's supposed to have said out loud in that kitchen, "If nobody else is going to invent a dishwashing machine, I'll do it myself." This was 1883. Other people had tried. There were patents on file going back 40 years for hand-cranked wooden boxes that splashed water over piles of plates. None of them worked. They broke the dishes. They didn't clean them. They were, in the language of the patent office, novelty machines, meaning they existed on paper and nowhere else. Cochrane took the problem apart. What was actually needed, she decided, wasn't a machine that scrubbed the dishes the way a human hand did, but a machine that held the dishes still while water did the work. She walked out into the woodshed behind the house. She measured every plate, every cup, every saucer she owned. She bent lengths of copper wire into individual compartments, one for each size and shape. She mounted the compartments on a wheel inside a copper boiler. The wheel turned. A motor pumped soapy water up from the bottom of the boiler and sprayed it over the dishes from above. She hired a local mechanic named George Butters to help her build it. It worked. On December 28, 1886, she received United States patent number 355,139 for an improved dishwashing machine. The drawings are still in the archives in Washington. The handwriting is hers. Now she needed buyers. She went to the banks first. The banks turned her down. A woman, the loan officers explained, couldn't be expected to manage a manufacturing concern, particularly not a widow with no formal engineering training and no male relative to co-sign. She went to potential investors, the husbands of her social circle, men who had eaten off her chipped china at her dinner parties. They listened politely. They didn't invest. So she went to the hotels. This is the part of the story usually skipped. American households in 1886 didn't want a dishwasher. Most homes didn't have running hot water in sufficient quantity to fill one. Dishwashing was considered women's work, and women's work was free. A machine that did it faster solved a problem that, in the polite arithmetic of the 19th century household, didn't exist. But hotels had a different math. The Palmer House in Chicago bought one, so did the Sherman House. Restaurants in St. Louis bought them. Cochrane's machine could wash hundreds of dishes in 2 minutes. It paid for itself in saved labor in a single season. By 1889, she'd founded the Garis Cochrane Manufacturing Company and was building dishwashers by hand in a workshop in Shelbyville and then in a larger workshop in Chicago. In 1893, she got her moment. The World's Columbian Exposition opened in Chicago that summer, the Great White City, 200 buildings on the lakefront, 27 million visitors over 6 months. Cochrane's machine was given a spot in the machinery hall. It won the highest award for best mechanical construction, durability, and adaptation to its line of work. Orders came in from across the country, from restaurants, from hospitals, from colleges, from the dining halls of the railway companies, but still, not from households. That would take another 60 years. The home dishwasher, as a consumer object, didn't break through until the 1950s, when American homes finally had the electrical wiring, the hot water heaters, and the post-war money to support it. By then, Josephine Cochrane had been dead for 40 years. She died in Chicago in August of 1913 at 74 and was buried back in Shelbyville next to William. Her company continued without her. In 1926, it was bought by the Hobart Manufacturing Company. Hobart renamed the consumer line. They called it KitchenAid. In 1986, exactly 100 years after Cochrane filed her patent, KitchenAid was sold to Whirlpool. Today, when you open a Whirlpool dishwasher, or a KitchenAid dishwasher, or really any modern American dishwasher, you're looking at the direct mechanical descendant of the machine Josephine Cochrane built in her woodshed in Shelbyville in 1886. The wire compartments are now nylon-coated steel, the copper boiler is now stainless, the pump is now electric, the principle is identical. Hold the dishes still, pump water over them from above. She was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2006. The induction ceremony was attended by roughly 200 people. There's a question worth asking here, at the end. The story of Josephine Cochrane isn't, strictly speaking, a forgotten story. The patent is on file. The company exists, the dishwasher exists. If you searched her name, you'd find her. But almost no one searches her name. Edison is remembered for the light bulb. Bell is remembered for the telephone. Eastman is remembered for the camera. These names are taught in school. Cochrane isn't. Her invention is in more American homes than any of theirs. There are more dishwashers in the United States than there are landline telephones and have been for almost 20 years, and yet the name attached to it has slipped, almost completely, out of public memory. There are reasons for this. Some of them are about her. She didn't seek publicity. She gave few interviews. She wrote no memoir. Most of them aren't about her at all. The dishwasher, for most of its history, was understood as a domestic appliance. Domestic appliances were understood as women's tools. Women's tools, in the standard American narrative of invention, didn't produce great inventors. The great inventors built things that powered cities, crossed oceans, transmitted voices. They didn't build things that washed plates. Josephine Cochrane built something that washed plates. She also built, almost incidentally, the first practical commercial dishwasher, the first dishwashing company, and the mechanical foundation of an industry that today employs hundreds of thousands of people and sits in 80 million homes. Her gravestone in Glenwood Cemetery in Shelbyville is small. It gives her name and her dates. It doesn't mention the invention. If you go to Shelbyville now, it's a town of about 4,000 people, 2 hours south of Chicago, and there's a historical marker near the house where she lived. It was put up after her induction. It's the only public acknowledgement of her work in the town where she did it. The dishwasher in your kitchen doesn't know her name either, but it remembers the shape she gave it in a woodshed in 1886 with a length of copper wire bent around a teacup.